Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to the Youth Volunteering Breakout Session as part of the National Conference. Today, we are privileged to be meeting on the lands of the Ngunnawal people. I pay my respects to them, their elders, past and present. I would also like to acknowledge the long history of community giving in First Nations communities and how much we have to learn from them as a volunteer sector. My name is Jenna Chia and I'm the Senior Engagement and Indigenous Programs Officer at Volunteering Victoria. I'm very excited to be facilitating today's session and for the opportunity to learn more about youth volunteering, which I think you'll all agree is an incredibly exciting and innovative area. A few housekeeping notes before we begin. We have 3 wonderful presentations today and we will have a very short time for questions at the end. So for this reason, I ask anyone who has a question to keep them as short as possible with minimal lead-in or introduction so we can hopefully get to 2 or 3 people. I'm not going to say too much more because I'd rather you have more time to hear from our wonderful presenters today. It is with great pleasure that I introduce Holly Hazel, Manager of Marketing and Communications at Volunteering WA.
Thanks, Jenna. So yes, my name is Holly. I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager for Volunteering WA. And today I'm going to talk through our advertising campaign we ran last year in Western Australia to help reframe and redefine what volunteering looks like to young people. Our campaign was called VWA Volunteer Society, and we created ads and video content that ran across Spotify, YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. Forgot I need to press this. I'm not going to go into too much detail about what we did because this is quite short, but I want to share with you our key learnings and the messages that you can take back and put into your own volunteer programs. So when we spoke to young people, there were 3 key issues or concepts or barriers that kept coming up when we were developing the advertising campaign. The first being that when we asked young people what their image of a volunteer was, the image that they came back to us was an image of the perfect person, the selfless person and a saint-like person. Now, young people want to give back, they do, but they also want to get something out of volunteering. So this persona of a saint-like volunteer just doesn't resonate with them. The second key takeaway is one I'm sure you're all very familiar with. Whenever we do a volunteering survey to current or prospective volunteers, time is always the biggest barrier to why they don't volunteer. And the way that young people framed it to us was that there are just too many competitors for time. They said to us that when they choose how to spend their Saturday, there is always an opportunity cost if they choose to volunteer or do something else, whether it's spending time with friends and family, trying to upskill and learn a new hobby, or just taking time to rest. One of the quotes we got back from young people during this survey that we did for the campaign was that young people like me know how important rest and recovery is. If we do too much, we'll burn out. They don't want to overcommit to activities. And then when they do commit to something, they want to make sure that they're tapping into multiple motivations and they're getting a lot of value out of it because time is limited. Third key takeaway when we were developing our own advertising campaign was that there are just so many incredible ads out there vying for a young person's attention. We are all competing for their attention. And when I say all, I don't mean every organisation and every volunteer program in this room. I mean every brand, every experience, every service that's running adverts, we are all trying to catch their attention. So how do volunteering adverts stack up against that? When we looked at Volunteering WA's own adverts and that of our partner organisations, there was a common theme in the messaging that was used. It was, we need your help, please donate your time, we're in desperate needs. And the photos that were being used were similar. They were all, I'm sure you would have seen these yourself, stock photos of people wearing shirts with the word volunteers across them, love hearts with volunteers in them, or helping hands reaching out into a circle. So when a young person is scrolling through their Instagram feed at nighttime and they see 5 different organisations using the same message and the same photos, And then they've got things like, we've got Fringe Festival running in Perth at the moment with incredible adverts, incredible content and influencers. Which adverts do you think are going to take their attention? It's probably not going to be the one that's this love heart with volunteer in it that's been used 5 times that day. So keeping these 3 learnings in mind, it was then our job to create some really cool adverts and video content. We took these 3 learnings and we turned them into 2 core messages. We made a promise to avoid all stock photos and illustrations of love hearts and hands, and instead use photos, videos, and adverts that showed the messaging we wanted out there, that people like you, young people, do things like this. Our first message for our advertising campaign was, you don't have to be a saint to volunteer. They told us that that is the image they had, so we said that's not true. You don't have to be a saint. You are allowed to get something out of volunteering. And so that we use that messaging through some of our video content, which we'll hopefully play for you.
My name's MacDonald. I'm the co-owner of Ollie Clothing. I think when you think about volunteering, you might think about that perfect person or that saint or someone that gives up their Sunday or whatever it is. But we're trying to just make volunteering not so corporate, not so saint-like, I guess. It's just mainly looking at the everyday person who can volunteer in a certain way. You're basically getting something out of helping someone else. It's not a physical thing, but it's just knowing that you've done something good for someone else, not just for yourself.
Our second core message to young people was that you can find connection and community through volunteering. This is what young people told us they wanted. They wanted social connection, they wanted community, and they wanted to have fun. So we said to them, volunteering doesn't have to compete with every activity that you're trying to choose between. Volunteering can be an activity that actually helps you tap into multiple motivations, whether it's through group or social volunteering that helps you make new friends or just spend time with your current friends, whether it's through upskill or expert volunteering where you can utilise the skills you have to give back to an organisation or develop skills in the career you want to work in. We showed them that volunteering can bring so much value to your life that you will want to choose to spend your time doing it.
Yeah, that's something I love about volunteering, the way that you kind of go in not knowing what to expect, really. And today we were just picking up seagrass fruit from the beach, and the idea that like that small act of us doing that as a group is then going to go on to like beds of the ocean being like revegetated is actually so epic. And I never would have known that that was something that needed to happen if it wasn't for this collaboration.
It's funny, I think in today's activities, the actual social aspect of it is what brought people down initially, and then you link that to a good cause or doing something together or volunteering your time. That
I'll replay that. We're live streaming this, so there's a couple of tech difficulties with that. These slides are going to be uploaded later. Bear with us.
that actually makes it so much more worth it because people need to connect, they need to socialize.
Take 2.
That's something I love about volunteering, the way that you kind of go in not knowing what to expect, really. And today we were just picking up seagrass fruit from the beach, and the idea that like that small act of us doing that as a group is then going to go on to like beds of the ocean being like revegetated is actually so epic, and I never would have known that that was something that needed to happen if it wasn't for this collaboration.
It's funny, I think in today's activities, the actual social aspect of it is what brought people down initially, and then you link that to a good cause or doing something together or volunteering your time, that actually makes it so much more worth it, because people need to connect, they need to socialize, and it makes it more enjoyable and fun. And at the end of the day, like, that's what we want. We want to have fun, be happy, and enjoy what we're doing as well.
It's about giving back in some way that creates a community, and I think that community gives back in tenfold, regardless of what you do.
So as my very short presentation comes to a close, I know you're going to hear so many incredible speakers over the next couple of days, but when you do get a chance to go back to the office, I challenge you to take stock of your volunteer program messaging and the adverts you are using. Are you perpetuating this idea of a saint-like volunteer that just doesn't resonate with a lot of young people anymore? Are you actually telling people the value that your volunteering programs bring, and how volunteering doesn't have to compete with every activity, but can actually help tap into lots of different motivations? And thirdly, can you try a social volunteering activity? They've told us they want connection and community. So even if you try one group activity as a way to introduce a new cohort to your volunteering programs, can you try it? Whether it's a beach cleanup, you need some walls painted at your building, whether it's to pack delegate bags for a conference or write Valentine's Day cards to your aged care residents, can you invite people in as a group as a way to attract a new audience? So they're my 3 challenges, and I'm sure you'll forget them over the next couple of days. So these slides will be uploaded to the portal, and you'll also find in this slide the ad agency we worked on with this campaign has created a handout just for you guys. There's a couple of leaflets at the front door. You can scan the QR code and get that handbook, or it will be uploaded into this afterwards. That's everything from me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Holly. That's fantastic, and I think it really challenges us as a sector to think about how we become more flexible and relevant to young people, which is so important. I'd now like to welcome Jazz Sue, Program Coordinator at Kids Giving Back.
Excuse me. Sorry, good morning. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to thank Volunteering Australia for the opportunity to be here today, and for everyone attending this session on youth volunteering. My name is Jazz, and as the Program Coordinator of Kids Giving Back, it is truly an honour to be here and present the initiatives our organisation takes to inspire youth volunteering. And today I'm joined here by CEO and co-founder Carol Schlesinger. So please, now that you know who we are, we'd love to get to know you over the course of the conference. Now, first of all, I'd like to ask, who's heard of Kids Giving Back before? Wow, that's actually a few more hands than I was. Oh, fantastic. That's wonderful to see. Thank you. Well, for those who haven't heard about us, we're a non-for-profit organisation that started 10 years ago by 2 mums that were looking for opportunities for their own kids to volunteer and found that there weren't any. They started by supporting asylum seekers with ways of clothes, food, and to date, we offer hands-on, age-appropriate, and volunteering opportunities for kids aged 6 to 18, families and corporates to give back their time and support those in need. Really exciting that last year was our 10th anniversary, and in the 10 years we've had 40,000 participants come through, and we've made over 180,000 meals for homeless and vulnerable communities, plus many other things which you'll see shortly. We do this by following what's called the EAR method, which is to educate, act and reflect. We educate on what homelessness is, what it looks like, who it can happen to, and how it can happen, breaking down those stereotypes and stigmas around homelessness and vulnerability. But then a hands-on approach by acting on making the food and all of the things that we do. And at the end, reflect on the overall impact, both for the program and personally. And today I'd like to take you through a similar journey on what giving back is, look at who we help and how we give back, and look at the the program impact statistically and personally. So when we begin with what is giving back, here I have some examples, and we ask participants, who's volunteered before? Or who's donated to a charity before? Or perhaps their clothes? And you can see the show of hands increasing as you ask those questions. My personal favourite is asking, who helps mum and dad around the house? And you see in the enthusiasm, the hands shoot straight up. And then I'm like, without being asked. And then suddenly, you know, you see the sheepiness going, oh, hang on, and mum's going, no, you don't. And it's really quite adorable. But even for kids as young as 6, we're imparting that giving back is as simple as helping loved ones around the house, doing something that's not asked or expected, and doing it out of the kindness of your own heart. And it's scientifically proven that by giving back, benefits not just those you're helping, but yourselves as well. And we like to call it the brain shower, where the reward system in the brain is being triggered and giving back to you. So that moment is noticed at the end of our programs when we look at how many people are helped and how many meals are made. And, you know, I get the privilege of seeing those reactions and that brain shower happening when we make the announcements of those numbers. But I'd also like to just share with you on a personal level, I actually wouldn't be standing here if I hadn't have learnt the significance of giving back myself, and if I hadn't have been homeless as well. So I was a national trainer for 10 years in the printing industry, and due to a back injury, lost my career and followed the domino effect of mental health and all sorts of things that ultimately led to me becoming homeless. So I was in 2017, and then again, I became homeless in 2019. But by that point, I was aware of the services and the help that was available. And I also started volunteering with one of our charity partners, Thread Together. There, it taught me so much more. And it also gave me a sense of belonging, sense of purpose. And that is where Kids Giving Back found me. And now 3 years on, I've just signed my 3rd year lease. And, you know, now with that stability, security, and passion and purpose realigning. So Carol, thank you for everything you have done to give back to me. Always gets me when she's in the same room as me. Now, as far as who we help, over our 10 years, we have supported over 80 charities, and here is just a handful. And we do that through families delivering to organisations and individuals that are supported through temporary housing. That's our Sunday program. We also have Oz Harvest, who are our main distributor through the week, where they've got 18 vans delivering across Greater Sydney, reaching places that we can't locally. We also have donation drives, charities, donations and donation drives that we coordinate with communities to fulfil specific needs, especially children in need. But then we also have massive support for and offering to the rough sleepers, so those that are on the street, where they're receiving everything that you're about to see shortly. I don't think this is the updated presentation. Sorry. Sorry about this, yeah. Yeah, I'll have to work it. Yeah. Sorry, I did actually update the presentation over the weekend. However, we do this by facilitating programs at our hub in Paddington. So it's a great excursion for schools and also families to come to. It's set up like MasterChef with a capacity of 60 people per program. Then we also have excursions that we can do with our charity partners. So here's one at Thread Together. And also our incursions that we can take into schools. Okay, where am I? Sorry. All right, our youngest program begins with 6 to 8 years old, where they learn what is giving back, and by making fruit kebabs with safety knives, followed by our much appreciated breakfast boxes that are supported by Kellogg's. In school holidays, we offer an all-day program for ages 8 to 14, rotating around activities, making hot and cold meals, guided by our chef. We also make snack cups and care packs that are filled with essential items, along with a personal note that the kids get right for the recipients. In January, we had a donation drive made possible for disadvantaged youth of back to school bags being put together by our helping hands. And at the end of the day, their achievements are captured through a reflection card where they share what is giving back, how it made them feel, and what they're more grateful for.
Hi, my name is Michaela, and I've been to Kids Give Back 6 times, and I'm about to go to the hospital to help those in need.
And how does giving back make you feel?
Giving back makes me feel really happy and just like grateful that I can help those in need, and I just feel very lucky.
So that's Michaela, who was actually a premature baby herself. And so she was going down to the children's hospital with coffee pods for the staff and blankets for the babies. Outside of our programs, we have what's called we offer a unique platform for youth aged 14 to 18 and Duke of Ed students to join our Youth Changemaker program by connecting them to volunteering opportunities, offering choice and flexibility. This platform creates a profile that captures relevant permissions, there we go. This platform creates a profile that captures relevant permissions and allows users to easily commit to vetted and published opportunities. It also has the potential for charities to add and manage opportunities of their own, even award leaders a way to oversee their students. But at the same time, it also captures all of their hours of involvement, whether it's training, learning and development, or volunteering. It creates a service portfolio, something that they can take and complement their future endeavours. Our current opportunities are Care to Give, where participants are linked with an individual. They go out and purchase items and then deliver them to them. We also have, again, alongside our own programs, the opportunities to volunteer with our weekend and school holiday programs. This growing initiative has fulfilled nearly 4,500 service hours in Duke of Ed alone. And evidence has found that, among other things, benefits of volunteering for young people are both personal and social, and include strengthening social relationships and responsibility, at the same time developing empathy and skills and overall enhancing career prospects. But enough from me, well, at least for now. Let's hear from one of our youth change makers who I would like to introduce you to. His name's Adam Leeser, and he's been a part of Kids Giving Back since he was 11 years old, and he is someone we are extremely proud of.
My journey of volunteering began 6 years ago here. This program.
Have we got volume?
Way that I could maybe realize that as a kid at age 12, I can really make a difference. Do something so unfathomable. voluntary.
I can come back to Adam's video if we need to. This is why I don't trust technology. No worries. Yeah, okay, sure. So yeah, if we get some time, we'll come back to that. But essentially, Adam has completed all of his, got bronze, silver, and gold, and was awarded the Community Youth Service Award by the Governor's Community Youth Service Award last year for 2022. So we're very proud of that. As far as our program impact is concerned, last year, I announced our 10-year accomplishment, but last year we fulfilled almost 25,000 hours in volunteering alone. And as you can see from the figures, that has had a significant impact overall on the communities we support. From a personal impact, we're receiving feedback from students, teachers, and even parents saying just how much impact the program has had on them. And as you can see, Gabriella, who's 9 years old, she said that she was able to give back in ways that she could never imagine. So on that, I'm hoping to get to Adam's video, but
today's good.
On that, I'd like you to imagine something. And I'm sure for any kid and cartoon buff of the 90s will appreciate that Captain Planet was onto something back then. And by our powers combined, being people, places, passion, purpose, programs, platforms, that we come together and create that space, allowing the youths to do more volunteering, then we will create possibilities. So I had some other slides there, but anyway, thank you very much. I'll see if I can get Adam's, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jazz. It's such an incredible program to hear about, because I think when you think about youth volunteering, we often think about high school age and teenagers, but such a beautiful illustration of how to get younger kids involved in it. You can never really start too young, can you? Now, I just want to say thank you to the audience and to our presenters for their patience with some of our tech difficulties. I think you can appreciate how challenging it is putting together such an incredible and big conference, and we just appreciate all the work that you're doing. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce our last presenters, Roxane Foulser-Piggott, founder of Freddie Match, Mathew MacDonald, chairperson at Radio Lollipop Gold Coast, who has clearly the best hairstyle of the conference. And, well, true. In hot second place is Blaze Pilgrim from the Southern Volunteering Adelaide. Welcome, guys.
It's only our names, it's not. Okay, too. Hello, everyone. Hope you can all hear me. My name is Roxane, and I must apologise for terrible slides, which you won't be able to read half of. But if you do want a copy urgently, just tap me on the shoulder, and I'm happy to email you some through. So this morning, I should say, we're talking about how to inspire the next generation of volunteers. Oh. Early phone. Can I? Oh, point the laptop. So I mentioned I run a website at this point. Anyway, there you go. Okay, so today what we're talking about is some challenges and solutions, and we're going to bring you some case studies about how you can hopefully engage more young people in volunteering. I'll be very light touch on the challenges and the solutions because I'm sure that these will be sort of done to death today. But if you think about our presentation as a theme, our theme is both building a narrative for youth volunteering, and underlying that is how we're using technology to support and enhance existing initiatives, not as a solution, but as a way to really help engage more young people where we can. So to start with challenges for young volunteers, and the context of this presentation is that a young volunteer is a person under 25 years old. And we're also talking about a situation where over the last 5 years, we've seen a significant decline in youth volunteering rates, something of the order of 25%. We have some well-known barriers to volunteering, but two things that we're focusing on today is the barrier of a lack of centralised information for young volunteers looking to volunteer. And secondly, which was really nicely touched upon before, is how you build that narrative about a positive experience coming from volunteering. So helping young people volunteer, as you'll hear throughout this conference, as I'm sure many of you already know, there are some wonderful initiatives out there which are actively engaging young people in volunteering. If you want to know more about school and university programs, the session after lunch D3 is touching upon that, strongly recommend that. We've also heard from Kids Giving Back, and worth highlighting here as well, Kids in Philanthropy, who are based out of Melbourne, as those initiatives. We've also touched on the Duke of Edinburgh Award today as well, another chance to inspire young people to volunteer. And we've also heard a little bit about some council and state initiatives, and there are other kind of sort of spin-offs from that kind of strategy piece about how to engage young volunteers. That's also well worth a look. Now, what we're talking about today is two things. We've got the VIO perspective, volunteer involving organisation perspective, and also that technology piece. So from the VIO perspective, we're lucky enough to be able to hear from Matt, who's going to be giving us an example of an organisation, he's very modest, an organisation that's actually excellent at engaging young volunteers, and some tips and tricks about how they do that. Then we're going to pass over to Blaze, equally excellent. I missed the memo, by the way, about the red hair. And Blaze is the driving force behind a programme out of South Australia, which is inspiring and encouraging more young people to volunteer. Lastly, I'm going to give a little plug for my gig, which is Freddie Match, and I'll tell you a bit more about that later, but we are a technology helping to try and facilitate some of these efforts. So over to you, Matt. Wait down there, you know that.
Awesome. So my name is Matt, or Hairy Matt because of the hair, and I am from Radio Lollipop. So to give some background on what we do, we are a volunteer-led organisation based out of children's hospitals, and we actually have radio stations in the hospitals so the kids can come down, feel like little celebrities, and they can also interact with us in our playrooms, do arts and crafts, and just have a whole lot of fun in not such a fun place. We also work collaboratively with organisations like MacDonald House Charity and the Children's Health Foundation. So the reason why we're here is actually due to our volunteer makeup in Queensland. So behind us, I have our age demographics, and we can see that over 50% of our volunteers are actually under 25. And on the left here, I have the stats from Volunteering Australia's youth. I can't remember, I think it was like 2022, August, the report was released, but it looks like our volunteers are following the opposite trend to the rest of Australia. So I'm going to give you 3 little things that we have found work for us, and hopefully they'll help you as well. So the first was actually touched on by Holly, and that's the content that you are producing. As under 25s, a lot of us are always on our phones, and we are bombarded with messages and really, really good content. So if you're putting up blurry pictures, it's going to be lost in the noise. So just really making sure you have high quality content. Doesn't have to be super incredible, but just being able to zoom in and still see it clearly makes a world of difference. Also just having the messaging behind there as well. So the happy messaging instead of trying to shame people into volunteering, really, at least for us, works. The happy kids smiling, people I could see myself doing that. they want to volunteer. The second one that we found really successful for us is going to where these young volunteers are already hanging out, and that is on social media. So that doesn't mean just posting on your accounts. There's actually communities around a lot of universities that have thousands and thousands of members. So I know for University of Queensland up in Brisbane, they have something called the UQ Stalker Space. And I know for QUT, another university up there, they have Careers Hub. And these have thousands, tens of thousands of people. If you get permission to post there, you post your high quality content and you're going to thousands of potential under 25 students that could become volunteers for you. The last one that I have here is also related to higher education providers, is that a lot of these organizations have career hubs. So they're websites that they post job listings that a lot of students have to use as part of their degrees. So if you put your stuff up there, the students are already going there as part of their degree, they will see your opportunities. One little caveat about this is you want to time it for when the students will be looking at these opportunities. So the start of semesters, not during exams and not during the holidays. And that's the quick stuff from me. So I'm going to pass over to Blaze.
Hey, it's working. Hi, everyone. I'm Blaze. I accidentally stumbled into volunteering kind of backwards when I was 24 years old because I turned up to an event called Dare to Dream. It was a local council program that showcased small business owners and entrepreneurs. And it was not what I thought it was going to be. Okay. My mental image of volunteers, and I apologize, was nice old ladies in op shops and people who have to do community service because they got into trouble. That was me at 24, okay? Oh. Breaking our mental image of what young people think volunteering is one of the big challenges in this space. For me, before I went to that Dare to Dream event, I didn't know my local council had any programs that were volunteer oriented, nor any that would engage people 25 or under. My mental image was council's the place that picks up the bins and upsets everyone because they put their rates up. I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, and I've taken that lesson into the work that I've done with Southern Volunteering. I've been lucky enough to spend about 20 months employed in a really innovative, really exciting youth pilot program, which seeks to reduce the gap. I took on the challenge of trying to map the ecosystem of volunteering in South Australia, pertaining to people 25 and under. We looked at over 2,000 educational institutions that are points of contact. We considered over 450 volunteer involving opportunities in our state, and we identified a system that helps us categorise and understand the different ways in which organisations can engage with young people. What's up on the screen might not look like much. It is a snapshot of 20 months worth of hard work. This index is essay friendly. Any job provider, any school, university, primary school has the ability to find everything in one place. But this is a prototype and it's not on software that's fit for purpose. I believe that what I've worked on has the capacity to have implications nationally. I believe that the framework that sits behind how we categorise these opportunities is applicable in every state. Shaky. So, with all of that said, and much more to say later, I have a QR code on my lanyard. Come scan it. You'll find all the resources. Within your own domain, I would like you to consider, are you thinking about what young people don't know? That idea of the op shop lady or the community services, are you actually appealing what you've got to offer to young people in a context that makes sense to them? Secondly, I would like you to think about the vast amount of people who are working on this challenge. How do we engage young people as volunteers? How do we get them to participate? How do we get them to stay? How do we manage after COVID? We are all in this space together, and with collaborating, we'll have far better opportunities to make a greater impact and more longevity in what we choose to do in this space. And lastly, I don't know for how much longer the youth pilot that I'm involved in is going to have legs. So my question to you is, have you got space to work together? Have you got any ideas on how we can take this to the next level? And do you know of anyone who has any software that might have something that could help this? Back to Roxy.
Well, it's very hard to follow these two, honestly. And I'm just going to try and draw this all together with back to the technology and the narrative piece. So Freddie Match, for those of you who don't know, is a website that matches volunteers with organisations that need them. And what we've discovered over the last 2 years is that between 15 and 20% of our website users are actually people under 18. But we're not doing a good job at all at providing them with opportunities to actually volunteer. So what we're trying to do in collaboration with as many people who will help us is create a sister platform, which we're looking to pilot next month, that is specifically for, to start with, Year 9 to Year 12 students to engage them better in volunteering. Now, there's lots of components of the platform that I could bore you to tears with, but you know, we've talked a lot today about organisation readiness to accept volunteers, and it's a really interesting subject, and there's organisations that are doing a great job and organisations that don't know where to start. Exactly, they do need help. And again, there's lots of resources out there to help you with that. But organisation readiness is key. And often it's just a desire to have a youth programme to begin with that we can then try and all work together to create those programmes, right? Now, the second thing is impact. And I'm just going to close on this because this is really linked to, you know, what Holly was talking about, what Jazz is talking about, what Matt is talking about, particularly about that narrative about volunteering. And that's at an organisation level and it's at a national or even state level. So what we're doing through the platform, we're collecting the rich data on what roles young volunteers engage with, and we're demonstrating the impact that they're having. So as an example, this is Matt's favourite example. If a young person goes out and plants a tree, we're mapping that to the UN Sustainable Development Goals and then adding up all that information. So at the end of the year, we can say 60,000 students across Australia planted trees, which is 2 carbon credits in line with UN Sustainable Development Goal 13 on climate action. Now that might not mean much, you know, to say it like that, but to a young person, that is a direct way of seeing the impact that their small action has had. And we believe that that's really important to take the narrative of volunteering and positivity forward. So just to close, luckily you can see the key points on this slide. The main things that we've kind of discovered through our collective work are that narrative is so important. Thinking about how you're engaging those volunteers, planning to engage them, then retaining them. Another thing that it's worth talking to Matt about if you get a chance. Where you can find those resources to help you on this journey. And then finally, if you're considered being part of a journey, come and chat to me afterwards about the pilot and what we're trying to do. And thank you to my wonderful co-presenters.
Thank you so much, Roxy, Matt and Blaze. I think the overwhelming message from today is that young people want to volunteer, and it's really our job as a sector to listen to what they want and need and adapt our programs and use the incredible resources that are already out there to do that. So over to questions. Do we have any questions for our wonderful panel? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, my name's Jules. I'm from PCYC Queensland. Do you find that changing language helps with young people? So we don't call it volunteering, we call it work exposure. So do you find it works?
We run programs that we can explore.
Any other questions? Over the back? Yeah. Oh.
Hello, I'm a volunteer coordinator for a local government in Wodonga. How do you go about engaging your councillors, or suggestions in engaging counsellors and exec in continuing to try and engage more youth, because I feel that the perception is youth are trouble. And some councils don't necessarily want to invest. They see as it a bit of a problem. How would you go about trying to educate and get those counsellors and exec on board in helping you grow your youth volunteer base?
I'm only going to add a quick answer here and then pass it off to someone else. I think that in this space, I learned a wonderful metaphor years ago. I'm sure you guys will love it. If you want someone to know what a mango tastes like, it's really, really hard to explain what a mango tastes like. You can show them photos, you can describe it. The easiest way to convey what a mango tastes like is here is a mango, try it. In the spaces that I've worked in and connected with a local council in the city of Onkaparinga, the best way to get people on board is to showcase what's working and to do it in a way that really shows scale and potential. So lead by example would be my answer.
So in Western Australia, we have a Minister for Volunteering, which I don't know if many other states have. So because our Minister is obviously so supportive of all our programs, that feeds down into our LGAs as well. A lot of our LGAs have volunteer programs within them and they are engaging with youth. So yeah, because they have their own programs, are able to connect with their local community. But yeah, I think WA is in a unique position because we have our own Minister. So sorry.
So I know that there's a lady at the back from the Gold Coast Council. They're very active in engaging young volunteers and have got some great programs going on. So I suggest you go and talk to Marie. She's wearing glasses, she's got long hair. There she is.
Thank you. I think we had a question. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Ange from YMCA Vic. I look after youth services there, and I had a question specifically for Holly. And just, you mentioned the different social media platforms that you used for your campaign, and just wondering how you determined which platforms to go for, and out of those, were there any in particular that had real cut through or scale that was obvious to you?
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. So we engaged an ad agency in Perth to help us with this campaign. We did a few different pitches with different companies and we ended up choosing the company that scared us a little bit because they started talking about advertising on TikTok and Spotify, which we were like, no, what? So that's the campaign we chose. So in terms of awareness and getting people to our website, Spotify and YouTube worked incredibly well for us. We had, so the videos I showed you were playing on YouTube as adverts. And it's not typical with YouTube videos that people will actually pause what they're watching on YouTube to click on that advert and then follow it through to the website. But we found with our campaign that it did. So one that shows that young people really do want to volunteer, they're just not sure how. So Spotify and YouTube worked, yeah, fantastic for awareness. And then of course, Instagram is amazing for awareness and actually engaging with young people as well. But you have to create video. So we found obviously creating video can be quite resource intensive. What I've found is I will go to a volunteering day, I will interview a couple of young people, ask them for a very short quote about why volunteering is important to them. I will then cut it up and use it 4 different times, 4 different ways across TikTok and Instagram, and that seems to work and get them through to our website. I'm not on TikTok that much because, again, it is so resource intensive. But in WA, we work with the University Guild who have a program that helps organisations use social media. And we're going to work with them to kind of be our content champions. So like I turned 31 today, so I'm not actually, the right demographic to be creating TikToks basically. So you can get someone up here creating all these amazing videos, but if I'm not the person that I want to watch that video, it's not going to come across as well. So that's why we're going to engage like 21, 25-year-olds to create that content and be our champions. One of the messages I had in my PowerPoint is that we want to show young people that people like them volunteer. So that's why it's not going to be my face and my words that are kind of putting that message across. Sorry, that was a very long answer.
I may ask, do you think that's an important thing as well in terms of, you know, volunteering and how we engage young people, is to actually have more young people working in the volunteering space as well?
Absolutely. Like for Jazz's program, you were showing the video of the young girl who was talking about her volunteer experience. That's going to resonate with other young kids rather than myself and Jazz saying those exact words. I used to work for a first aid charity who they had first aid volunteers who were from like age 4 to 8, and they would end up staying as a volunteer, and a lot of them would stay up until they were 40 years old because they created that connection and community and saw people like them were volunteering.
Sorry, I'd just like to add on to that. What I asked Adam in his video was what is needed for the future of youth volunteering. And his answers were opportunities and advocacy. So there is, like, you know, what I've struggled with the youth change makers is calling around organisations saying, hi, do you take youth volunteers? No. Do you take youth volunteers? No. So Salvos, PCYC, Vinnies, if you're here, please come and talk to me. Because I have vetted you as organisations to be able to take youth volunteers. But yeah, Adam's answer was really remarkable. So I'm sorry we didn't get to show that. But yeah, advocacy and the opportunity.
So just for the online participants, Cindy was just saying that the video and all of the slides will be online, so you can see Adam's video later.
Oh, hi panel and everyone here. I'm Diana from Dementia Australia, and a lot of what you've talked about is attracting youth volunteers. I just wanted your opinions on the best communication after you've attracted them into a program, and particularly when you're working through a database, there's emails, there's policies and procedures, which are often, you know, quite a lot to go through. So I just wondered what your opinion was on the best comms for the youth.
Definitely can be very overwhelming, because since we're based in the hospital, we have similar kind of issues. We have child safe volunteering and then all the hospital guidelines, vaccinations, all that fun stuff. So the way we go about it is we actually run info nights that are online, so the volunteers can come in from the safety of their rooms, get a feel of what we're going to ask about them, what the program's going to involve, and then from then they go through the normal application process. And then before they even start with us, we have a long process. We have an induction day. So at that induction day, we all come together, get to meet each other, make those connections, get to meet their teams, and that's where we go through that fun policy stuff. So they have the fun stuff, making the connections, feeling the community, but then they also have the info dump of these are the things that are expected and what we have to be mindful of.
And one thing that Matt actually mentioned to me a long time ago is the way that you communicate the process up front to the volunteers. And I think that's really important to young volunteers. You say to them, there's going to be this lead time, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So during the info night, I'm like, so these are our timelines. This is when you can expect an outcome. This is when induction day is going to be, just so they know that it's not like, oh, there's another thing. Oh, there's another thing. I'm not going to do this anymore. They know straight away. These are my hurdles. Once I get there, I'm in. I'm going to make kids happy.
Did anyone else have anything to add to that? No? Okay, we have another question just here.
Hello, my name's Todd Burns. I'm from Australian Red Cross. I just wanted to ask a question about engaging with young people outside of the school context, because I know a lot of organisations will try and engage young people through schools, because that's probably the easy way and they've got a captive market there. But have you got any experience in engaging with young people outside of the school and attracting young people in directly to volunteer with some sort of organisation?
So the database that I mentioned and the framework that I talked about earlier looks at the different ways in which organisations can reach young people and can have them volunteer. This includes your school type volunteering, where it's very much, we have a program, we've got set timeframes, can you be involved? The other aspects of the database have looked at all of those alternative ways that organisations can engage young people from a perspective of, we can take on board people 25 and under without the supervision of a third party, no parent, no teacher, etc. Those are the really child-safe organisations that know exactly what they're doing in that space, and they often offer child-related work, that the programs that they're doing are child-related. We have organisations that are nearly there, but they're not really leaders in the space. They're looking at ways to recruit, utilising volunteer resource centres, using websites like Seek Volunteer, Go Volunteer, Freddie Mac, you name it. There's a lot of online avenues. There are points of contact inside of universities. It's a very word of mouth type of network. And if you don't have those relationships established, you often just aren't mentioned. You're not getting the exposure to those young audiences. You don't move forward. With some of the other ways that you can engage people under 25 outside of school, we're looking at models where an organisation maybe doesn't have the capacity to do the full kit and caboodle themselves. They rely on third parties. That could be caseworkers, parents, guardians, teachers, etc. And then you've got a really unusual group of organisations that usually aren't considered in this space, which are organisations that can engage young people externally. Young people are very responsive to trends, very responsive to social activism type movements. These are opportunities where we can capture, mostly through social media, but again, word of mouth is huge here. The ability to get people excited about mobilising their volunteer efforts as individuals that support organisations, but organisations are very hands-off. There also seems to be another category that's sort of emerged, which is participatory volunteer engagement, where, okay, I don't have the insurance to take you on board as a volunteer. I'm really sorry, you're under the age of 18. I just don't have capacity. But through partnerships, through collaborations, through other third parties, there are ways to have volunteer programs happen. They just don't look like what we think of as traditional volunteering. Please come talk to me afterwards. I've got more to say on that. Sorry for airspace.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think we've got time for one more quick question. Yeah, last one.
Thanks very much, and thanks. Mine was there was a reference to org readiness as well, for young people, and I work at the Red Cross, Christine, and yeah, I think many times that we haven't enabled our programs to thrive for young people. But what have you seen that we continually get wrong for our org readiness and I suppose program readiness for young people? And before I finish, happy birthday, Holly. Yeah. But is there, just things that you see that we just constantly get wrong? Yeah.
Things that you guys get wrong. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm going to need longer than 30 seconds.
Maybe your top 5, then narrow it down.
Absolute top 1 is not understanding who you are working with when you reach out to work with young people. I constantly find myself recommending, if you have a standard adult type volunteer program, you might want to modify it when it comes to working with young people. Just off the bat, if there's only one thing I can suggest, consider the different needs of that demographic. They're less experienced, less skilled, often less confident. They have different needs in terms of emotional support, create a youth-friendly version of your service provision. Have a role that's advertised particularly for those younger people.
Thanks, please. Did anyone else? Yeah, Roxy? Yeah. Roxy, did you want to? Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to really quickly say there is a flip to this, which is it's great that you want to engage young people. And to me, that's the first thing, right? If you want to do it, that's the best place to start. And, you know, realising the value that young people can bring to the organisation and not shying away from the work that we're talking about to get it right when you do it.
Great. Last question over. Yeah.
Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to the speakers. It's really enlightening to hear your presentations. I think a good place to start if you're looking for youth volunteering or to find out about youth volunteering is also through the volunteering peak bodies, because they do have some funded programs. In WA, we have a youth program which is funded by our state government. As Holly alluded to, we do have a Minister for Volunteering, and so there's a real keen interest there as well. But we also have, within that programme, we have relationships with volunteer resource centres. It's great to see two of the managers here today as well, which is Peel and Southwest. And also there's a website that links into the National Volunteering Platform, which is designed particularly for youth positions. And alongside that, we have a youth coordinator who works with volunteer and involving organisations to help them redesign their programmes and positions so they are more appealing to young people. So I think a great place to start for people is just go to your peak bodies as well, and they might be able to put you in touch with people that are giving those presentations today as well, that they've got some great examples. So thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. And I do know at both a state and national level, we are advocating for increased funding and resourcing of youth volunteering initiatives, and it was part of Volunteering Australia's pre-budget submission, if you're keen to read more about that. Please join me in warmly thanking Holly, Jazz, Matt, Blaze and Roxy